Hi, everybody. Just testing that you can hear me and see us fine. Maybe if someone can put something in the chat. Oh, great. We will give it another minute or two before we get kicked off. I still see people joining. Happy Monday, everybody. I know Adam and Kelly here on the West Coast. That's a little earlier for them.
Happy Monday to you too, Sarah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to another episode of Work Smarter, Not Harder with Automation. For first timers, this is where we deep dive into the innovations of tax automation and client engagement using HubSync. And then for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sarah Kleinfelter. I've been at HubSync for 2 years now, and I currently work on the customer success team. This is such a special episode, and we're thrilled to welcome two of our great clients who are in the midst of making transformations in their current operations, most specifically by using HubSync's engagement letter wizard module. We'll hear firsthand about their industry experiences, challenges they have faced in the past, and the benefits they've achieved by leveraging the engagement letter tool. Just a reminder, this is a free-flowing conversation between us, so if there's any questions from the audience, please put them in the chat and we'll add them throughout. But first, Adam and Kelly, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and briefly sharing your background, your current role at your firm.
Sure, I'll start, Sarah. Hi, I'm Kelly Berbel. So I've been in the accounting industry for 11 years. My current role is a project and operations manager for our tax department's leadership team. So I have my hands in a lot of operational things, and I help create processes to make those things run more efficiently. So the engagement letter process or burden at our firm is something that I've been helping with for a few years and participating in before I was helping with the overall, way of how it goes.
Great.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Adam McLean. I've been in the accounting profession for about just under 25 years. I'm hitting 24, 25 somewhere within the next couple of months. I'm currently a director of administration at our firm, and my main role here at the firm is to support the practices as a whole with the administrative team. So I synchronize up with Kelly and the tax practice when we have really, really big initiatives that are outside of the compliance deadlines that we are responsible for.
Awesome. Sounds like we have some great experience with us today. So let's get into it. First, let's just discuss some industry insights. So Kelly, how have you seen this industry evolve over the past few years, especially in terms of technology adoption?
I'll say that things changed really fast. Not too long ago, our firm was focused on transitioning away from paper. This wasn't that long ago. So we had paper engagement letters, paper client copies of tax returns. But quickly after that, after making the digital commitment, we saw things change really fast, go from that to automation. So now automation is the hot topic. And, everyone's okay, we're all online now. We're not really doing paper as much, but like, what's next? What's better? And so that's automation. How can things be done faster, less manually, and with less human intervention? What kinds of technology and services are available to help things run behind the scenes for us, both on the administrative side and on the practice side. So that's really what I've seen recently is now everyone's getting away from paper and automation is the hot button topic, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of our clients, start with paper or email, and want to move to automation, streamlining that process more. So
Right.
Adam, to add on, what do you see as the most significant challenges faced at accounting firms regarding engagement letters?
Good question. There's one thing that comes to my mind that actually makes me chuckle a little bit when I think about this. Um, I look to the contract season, kind of in two buckets: the people who are the solution, um, and kind of the people who are the problem. As funny as that sounds, because at least in the world that I've lived, when you have contract season coming online and you have a number of partners, you're hoping that the partner group or the manager group, even to a small degree, administration, is
Mhm.
moving in the same direction to achieve the same thing. And for those that have been in the accounting industry for a while, with especially when you have multiple partners or a lot of managers that have responsibilities in contracting, that can be really, really hard to achieve, especially when you're in that email world or
Mhm.
we're still printing things like. I remember
Yeah.
days when Kelly and I would be running around in offices going, do you have the stack of contracts to give to another partner? And then, because the partner wanted it, but then of course, the manager hasn't even reviewed the letters yet. So,
Mhm.
or they'll be like, oh, I already sent them out. And I was like, well, wait, the partner needs to also look, needs to look at them. So like having people behave like and march to their own drum is a real challenge when it comes to contracting. So
Yep.
I
Agreed.
think there's a huge win with systems that bring kind of technology and human behavior together, like a contracting system, for example.
Yep.
Another item I think is a big challenge is the scalability of something. Um, we are 3 years in to a digital environment for contracting. We are just now getting into season 2 with HubSync. Before that, it was DocuSign that we were using. And one thing that we saw was we needed something that was scalable, whether it was from the human side or the technology side. Right. And the scalability, usually when you started to see things buckle, it's usually from a process that's eroding with an individual trying to get
Yep.
something done or the volume. And so with this type of a platform, you're able to move people within the system to try and help out and balance out the workload.
Yep.
Um, that of course increases efficiency all across the board for all of the users. I think another thing that's a challenge was the visibility into something, especially in a post-COVID environment where we probably have more work that's done in different locations, or it's not as easy as it used to be when
Mhm.
you were just in the office running around and physically giving something to someone. Now it's in the digital space. um, so you need some type of insights into that. Where is this letter? What reports can I generate? And those types of metrics that you're looking for or to see into something usually has to be instant. So
Yep.
that's the benefit that I think we now get with this type of a system. And then also, the other big challenge was everyone moving in that same direction. Like I said earlier, as funny as it is, I'm pretty sure most people on this call have probably lived that to a degree, whether they were trying to chase down and get someone to follow a process, fall in line with what was the goal or the initiatives of leadership, or the flip side of that, they probably have deviated from it. So
Yeah.
uniformity is a big one.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I see
Mhm.
those things across the industry as a theme as well, especially with the tracking and reporting. You know, a partner
Mhm.
will get asked, where are your engagement letters? How many have you
Mhm.
gotten out? Or how many do you have left to do? How many are
Right.
signed? And you know, before a tool like HubSync, that would be near impossible. Maybe it's tracked on the spreadsheet. Maybe they're asking their admin, hey, what's the total count today? So
Or
definitely
let's
agree.
hope the spreadsheet didn't go
Yeah,
corrupt,
right.
or we
Let's
didn't
hope it's
lose the
up to date.
spreadsheet, or yeah, or you're like, let me count my letters, like all
Right.
these things that no one likes anymore.
Yep. So a little background, Adam, Kelly, and I started working together about a year ago on implementing the engagement letter module. So Kelly, I know we kind of just briefly touched on it, but can you describe the situation of engagement letters before implementing the ELW tool and maybe some of the challenges you are facing with traditional methods of paper, email, managing engagement letters?
Sure. Yeah, it was a situation. Every year we would actually implement a new process to address the previous year's gaps and pain points. So every year was just a band-aid. We'd have our same like base process, but then parts of it would just have to be different because we got so many complaints about how it
Right.
was going. So we were mail merging, then saving each individual letter as a PDF, titling it properly, saving it in a central location, which was different all the time,
Mhm.
um, so that it could be reviewed by the practice staff. And then we were sending one by one, either by DocuSign or in a PDF by email. So it just kind of depended on what the client wanted, or
Yeah.
I mean, there was just no process. It was a process without a process. So everything was electronic. So we thought like, okay, well, we're good, right? Like we made it to the electronic benchmark. And so this is as good as it gets, right? But it's not, because everything is still too long, takes too much time, so manual. And like Adam and you were saying, Sarah, not great visibility into anything. So doesn't really meet today's standards of
Mhm.
doing something streamlined. So mistakes would always occur year to year. We didn't have a good process to update data in our systems. So every year the same client's name would be misspelled, or the address would be wrong.
Yeah.
Um, and so Adam mentioned our first real contract life cycle management solution we did for a year with DocuSign, but it didn't work with us. There wasn't
Mhm.
a It didn't work for us. There wasn't a great way to track changes, ensure those changes were saved in a system so next year's information would be correct. The tracking was very limited. It limited search functionality. Is that things got better with DocuSign, but we still knew there's too many issues that this wasn't the right platform yet.
Yep. Yeah, and I know one thing that we worked on a lot together at us three were red line tracking, right? Being able to track how many
Yes.
things were redlined when a client's name changed, so we can make sure that the source systems and the process was updated for the following year. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. And then Adam, so I know it's hard when making a decision when choosing new technology for firms, right? It's always hard to make that jump. What were the primary reasons you decided to explore a solution like HubSync, right? You were already using another automated tool, right? Maybe going from paper or email to an automation is one step, but then moving from another vendor, what were some of the primary reasons?
Hmm. Um, and moving away from DocuSign was not an easy decision as well with our firm, because I mean a lot of people would probably think, when they're looking for a technology solution, go with the gold plan, right? The gold star member,
Hmm.
which a lot of people see DocuSign in that. And so
Mhm.
because also when we decided not to do DocuSign again, we had to start from the ground up again. Like it was almost like Band-Aid again, like what
Yeah.
Kelly mentioned. So we're trying to like avoid this, right? Because also moving from one system to another system within a year for the tax practice also puts a bad taste in their mouth, right? Like when
Yeah.
they're trying to get a contract done, they learn the system and then we pulled it out from under them and launched a new one, right?
Yeah.
Um, so we probably had reactive thinking with the DocuSign platform because it had a lot of issues. It just wasn't working for us the way that we wanted it to be.
Hmm.
Um, I think one of the big things is when looking at HubSync, we did want a system that can be partially maintained in-house.
Mhm.
We wanted to have power users be involved in the configuration process, and we couldn't get that with the DocuSign platform. We'd have to submit things to a developer, we'd go into development, and like if we had to pivot things quickly, it was not easy to do. And
Yeah.
so with the HubSync system, I do think it strikes a really good balance of what do we send to the developers to program versus what are we going to take on in-house when it comes to template configuration, database management, the user experience, review
Yep.
processes, things like that. Um, the other item that was hard to accommodate was, um, which we achieved with the HubSync platform, was we have a customized appendix on our contract just because we're trying to send out fewer letters to our clients in a way to try and enhance the client experience.
Yeah.
So, we could have a client that signs a contract, but within that contract, it covers not just themselves, it can cover up to, 5, 10, 50
Yep.
different types of entities or individuals.
Yep.
And so having to try and program that was a challenge. And HubSync did achieve that. And that was when we were evaluating contracting systems, if they could not get that appendix to dial in the right way, that was a knockout punch. It was immediately a no when we were evaluating the other companies that we were looking at. Another item too is the system needs to be easy. It needs to be
Mhm.
good for the tax group, which I look to them as my client. It needs to be easy for them to understand. It needs to be easy for them to navigate and use, because you need to increase the adoption, especially with us coming off of the era of like, we just totally been dynamited the DocuSign platform. For Kelly and I, that was a huge decision to do, and we are now implementing a new system, and so we needed this thing to go off with as few hiccups as possible, right?
Yeah.
So that experience was important to us. And then was it also simple for the client? The other thing is the client experience when they're trying to sign a contract has to be easy for them. And if they get into a problem with not understanding it, it has to be easy for us to explain it to them how to get to the stage of signing their contract. So I think that was another big thing. And then, of course, when you're looking at technology, I think it's also fair to say that there's a cost component when you're looking at platforms. And as far as what
Yeah.
we're wanting to achieve, the HubSync platform, uh, also from a cost perspective, worked well for us at the firm.
Yeah, I think a few things that you just hit on there is the client experience with contracts or engagement letters, right? Making it simple,
Mhm.
combining letters into one, so rolling up your entities or kicking off your 7216 at the same time, right? So they're not having two experiences and you're trying to follow up with them multiple times. But then on the internal front of template configuration, we help in the beginning of implementations, by helping set up letters, train you on the system, but it really is a user-friendly
Mhm.
area, right? Where you
It
can create your
is.
own templates. If you need to make a tweak to your terms and conditions, it's very easy for you to go in there to do that. We don't need PubSync or developers to get in there and do little things like that.
Yep.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so awesome. A little background. I remember even before we kicked off, you guys sat with Tiffany for about a week or two every day and then got to play around in the little sandbox real time. I thought that was
Yes.
such a cool idea. But we actually started implementation together last fall in preparation for spring 24 busy season. If I remember, our main focus at first was the client data integration, right? Making sure we had the right data. And then tax letters. We see a lot of firms start with tax, right? And then include more service lines. We're also working on family office now. So Adam, could you share any specific benefits that you've experienced since deploying ELW and how HubSync has transformed the way you manage them day to day?
Hmm. I think selfish from my own point of view, being in administration and leading the administrative department, I actually think one of the great benefits about the system is the change request feature. So, earlier Kelly mentioned on this conversation was when changes were made, we also did not know if the changes were made on the letter or if it was made back in the database, or the client source. And so I really think the change request queue is a powerful queue during the contracting phase, because you know, I don't expect the tax group to finalize the letter, but I do
Yep.
expect them to let the administrative department know if there's a change that needs to be made in the letter. Give us
And
the letter to
when
finalize
you
it.
mean change request, just for people who,
Hmm.
aren't using ELW yet,
Right.
you mean when we've taken it through the wizard, it's in a review stage, right? And it's kind of going back and forth between the partner requesting changes for the
Yes.
admin to continue making. Okay.
Yes. And the fact that anything that's being request for a change done by either the manager or the partner
Mhm.
going into like a separate bucket almost, is a really good way to increase that visibility. So you know actually what letters are being reviewed, what letters are being need changes, and then you can look at that letter and accept the changes, and then, or if you need to re-roll your letter, you can do that. But also
Yep.
you have the opportunity to then see, oh, they're changing an email address. Okay, we need to go back and update the client source file, right? With
Yep.
things like that is really, really important, especially if you are a firm that's trying to clean up your data in one way, right? When it
Yep.
comes to emails or contact names, you know, nothing is more terrifying sending out a letter to either the wrong client, or
Right.
someone who's passed away and they're getting another letter, or someone who's divorced, right? And you
Right.
have a letter going out to both of the taxpayers still acting like they were married. And so you can catch that in your review process, and then it puts the letter on pause, and then we have the opportunity to fix the issue, which we didn't have that type of visibility before. So I love
Mhm.
that item. I think the reporting is a huge benefit, um, in so many different ways. One is, what managers need to still look at their letters, or what partners need to look at their letters, what letters have not been drafted yet versus what letters out for signature. And then once a letter is signed, it comes back into the engagement letter table. And us at the firm here, we actually use the engagement letter table as the document library of
Yep.
signed contracts, which that sounds like it's really a small thing, but there's nothing worse when you're trying to find a letter and you cannot find it in your network. And because that also required a human step, right? Unless you've automated your delivery mechanism into
Mhm.
your document library. We just use HubSync for that. We have not figured out, we have not automated that in any other way here at our firm, at least. So the fact that once a letter is signed, it just simply comes back into the system as a signed contract, and we don't have to save it, rename it, move it to the network. Like
Mhm.
that is that's a huge saving in time.
It is.
Um, and also, like, we don't need to worry about, like, did someone save the letter in the network? And then when you find out that they didn't save the letter, we're going to hunt down the letter. Like,
Right. Right.
I'm sure a lot of people on this call have lived this in one way or another. Um, and then the other item too, I think, with a contracting system is when you have to PM it, especially in the virtual space. Um, I don't live in California. Our firm's in California. I live in Oregon. Um, and when you're trying to PM something from afar, you need a technology platform.
Yep.
And that is one of the great things is why I think about the HubSync system is I get the visibility of what's happening during our contract season to try and lead the team and the charge to get all of the contracts out the door.
Yep. And one way that you guys did that specifically was you are super users of our views, right? You can create views and that create
Correct.
buckets of, hey, I need to go look at my changes requested or which ones have been completed. So views and then our analytics, like you mentioned, are good ones.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, expanding and growing together. We've been thrilled to have a partnership with both Adam, you and Kelly. Engagement letter is only one opportunity to work smarter, not harder. We always want to continue to expand to grow together. So Kelly, We know taking these leaps can be scary from a change management perspective, but the benefits normally far outweigh the risk, especially with something like ELW. What advice would you give to other firms considering a digital transformation or tools like HubSync?
Yeah, I think my thoughts on that are you are probably here because something's not working for you, or you know you need something. Um, there's just never an ideal time. Do it now. Look into it now. It might
Right.
not be right for you this moment, but find out what's available and take time to invest in that process. I think, I don't know if it was you, Sarah, or I think it was Adam, but everyone will benefit from something like this. Your admin staff, your practice teams, even your clients. Um, I think sometimes about our CPAs, our accountants. They didn't become accountants to review engagement letters or
Right.
spend their time just frustrated with administrative tasks. Start looking into these things now so that it can help you focus on the things that you're meant to do, or you want to be doing, or you should be doing. So I think, yeah, just keep looking into it. And when you're ready, make that time to invest and make sure it really works for you. And it's suited for your needs at your firm, because the only way you'll succeed is if it's tailored to you, which HubSync has really helped us do.
Yeah, and you guys did a very good job in the beginning is you said yes, right? You said yes so early on that we got a chance to have a really great contract season, Engagement Letter Wizard season in the spring of 24, right? And now we're going into our second. Um, so, and then Adam, do you plan on leveraging other technology? I know that we've talked about other things that piqued your interest to drive more efficiency.
Absolutely. So the way I look at it, in to piggyback off of Kelly's other statement, where she said, you know, the CPAs are here to do their technical work, not to do administration, right?
Yeah.
The way I look at it is anything that you can do to free up time to do more important things is a win. That's how I look at it
Totally.
now, kind of in today's age with technology and automation. I think we probably used to think of the old school way of like, I converted this paper prep checklist to Excel, and yay, we've automated. No, we really haven't.
Right.
And so, what I'm looking at is, now that we're already in season 2 into HubSync for the ELW, we're always evaluating the data for the ELW to see if there's other efficiencies that we can pick up there. Because also, data, understanding what your data does makes it that much more smoother for the next season, right? So
Yep.
an example why I bring this up is because, I remember when we first started contract season, we were probably like, if you were to imagine an Excel sheet, we were, I think, probably around 50 or 60 columns of client detail. And we have been chipping away at those as we've been looking at how the data is going to become more, like how we are utilizing the data that we have to not manually maintain other data sets outside of what we already have in the firm. The module that I'm really excited about for the future is the TRB, or tax return breakup module, to automate the assembly process, because the administrative team does have a touch point on every single return that goes out the door for our clients, and that has a lot of steps in it. So the automation that we can get there, then we can focus on more complicated returns and just get the easy ones out the door or back into the hands of the tax practice, I guess is the better way to say it, so they can then deliver it to the client. So that's a big one for us. The gateway, I think, is another milestone that we're looking at, which would kind of unify the behavior that we have around portals. We
Exactly.
at the firm right now don't have a unified approach on portals, or sending documents through. We're still very email heavy, because our clients like that too. But we also get these weird scenarios where we're like, send it to me via Google Docs, send it to me via Box, send it to me
Yep.
on SharePoint, send it to me on, we start to get all these different ways of sending documents through. And so we think that the gateway portal will be a great way to unify the highway of information going from the firm to the client. And that could even dovetail into other items, like if I'm using TRB and my return is done, the return goes into the gateway, the client now has it, right?
Yep.
Um, yeah, the client gets to sign their e-file forms. The e-file forms come back. Another module that we're interested in is I think it's called the 8879
Yep.
module, but essentially there's now the automation around the electronic filing of the return and the tracking and the updating. Like those two big things, return processing and e-file, is heavily maintained by administration, which
Yep.
also takes a lot of human capital to do. And so anything that we can pick up in automation there would be huge gains, I think, for our firm.
Yeah, definitely. Eliminate the monotonous work, right? And let the tax professionals continue doing tax professional work, not
Correct.
the monotonous.
Right.
All right, well, we're getting close to time, but a huge, huge thank you to Adam and Kelly, who are a part of our amazing client network. It was so great to spend extra time with you this week and hear how our tool has not only streamlined your processes, but enhanced your client interactions. And for everybody else, we hope today's discussion was fun and provided you with some real life transformation stories. So see you guys next month for a new episode of Work Smarter, Not Harder.
That's good. Thanks, Sarah.
See you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy your week. Bye-bye.